Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Aurora. This is an introduction in case you are new to who I am and what my work is all about. And I'm also introducing my very special feline companion, Ashley. Always overlooks my work and supervises to make sure I'm working hard. I am a Galactic Walk-in and also a visionary artist. So when I define Galactic Walk-in, this is important because not all walk-ins are galactic. What I'm essentially telling you is that I am a ET or extraterrestrial and human hybrid. I am a extraterrestrial consciousness or celestial energy that has come to inhabit this physical human form. So it has to do with the origin of my consciousness and the integration of that into this cellular body. So of course, that was a very difficult task to accomplish. The integration of non-earthly energy into an earthly corporeal package took a long time to accomplish, and although my features are humanoid, there are many aspects of my anatomy and the way that my body functions that are not like the typical human. So I'm here and I'd like to talk with you as a form of interdimensional ambassador. And when I say interdimensional, please note my language. I'm very conscious of the choice of words that I use. At first I said extraterrestrial presence in a human form. Now I'm talking about extradimensional. This is a fine point and an important distinction to make because there are many non-corporeal entities who are heavily invested in the experience of Earth. And Earth is a person and a consciousness. So when I say the experience of Earth, I'm talking about the experience of the earthly plane and the experience of the being, the person who is named Earth, and what they are experiencing on their journey of consciousness. So you, as an inhabitant of Earth, I am sending this video via YouTube to the inhabitants of Earth. As an inhabitant of this person, this being, you are a part of that journey of consciousness. And there's a lot of galactic history here. So first of all, I present this information in a more formal setting called Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. This is available on my website, flyingrainbowlasagna.com. And lesson 18, of which I have some excerpts, talks all about galactic history and fills in a lot of the missing pieces of the amnesiac history, quote unquote, of Earth, because Earth has had many consciousnesses living here, some of whom have been human or humanoid, having the appearance of human, and many of them have not been. So we now need to recognize, going back into earthly history, that there is a time in what is called now by science and currently recognized history, prehistory, which is the period of amnesia that current history doesn't recognize, where upon planet Earth there was high technology, an incredibly advanced, sophisticated culture that had access to telepathy, high technology using vibrations, not necessarily the type of machine-based technology that one is used to after the Victorian era in the later years, but a type of high technology nonetheless. We're talking about solid state crystals, just being able to telepathically store information in a crystal and then access it later. So this is, in this time and place where I currently find myself, not very many people are telepathic. The reason for this is humanity has experienced a genetic degradation of their innate psychic talents, and also because of the environmental toxins and pollutions. When I say toxins and pollutions, I mean not only chemicals, such as something that one might receive through a vaccine or through one's food, but also literally the vibrations that are placed in the air through unprotected electricity. Electricity as it flows creates a magnetic field, and we have electrical lines all over that are creating magnetic fields willy-nilly with very little conscious placement of those fields. And that is unharmonious. and makes it more difficult for one to tune in to higher psychic vibrations. So if you have ever visited someplace, if you've ever been lucky enough and privileged enough to visit someplace that does not have a lot of electrical power lines, you might find that it is so much easier to tune in to higher reality and higher consciousness. I certainly had that experience going from New York State, the Woodstock area, where there's power lines everywhere and it's very built up and there are many, many people that live there, to rural Vermont during a day trip. And as I was driving north and as I felt the psychic air clearing, I really felt that it was no longer so much of an effort to tune in past the psychic static that always seemed to be on the line. And I felt a similar level of clarity when I came here to California, and for the first time I went to some of the redwood groves. For example, the Rockefeller redwoods are an amazing, I'm looking for the right word, and that doesn't happen very often. It's a bath of peace. When I go into that grove, I mean, it's not far off the road. There are electrical power lines not far away, but the feeling of peace that those trees exude and hold together is an entirely different bubble, different reality bubble that you can enter into. So basically, that's another place where I have found a lot more psychic input, and it's a lot easier for me to tune in. And of course, one can create one's own psychic space in your own living room. And I certainly have done that in Woodstock, and I do that here in Northern California. You don't have to necessarily always travel to a foreign location. You can bring that energy of the foreign location back to where you live. So what I did when I went to the Redwood Grove, I brought my crystals and I put them in the trees and I saturated them there, and those crystals are here. I won't bother to get up and get them, but know that they are here. And I also have redwoods outside of my window that are telepathically connected, or I should say, whom are telepathically connected to the redwoods that are in the grove, even hundreds of miles away. And through connecting to these trees right outside of my window, I am certainly able to connect to those trees there. The trees themselves are a form of wireless network. Once you begin to activate your psychic capacity, you will start to understand that just because a being stands its whole entire life in one place does not mean that it is uninformed. The trees are incredibly well informed about what is going on the planet and what is happening in the world, just in the same way that I get up in the morning and I look at Google News and I say, what is happening in the world? The trees do exactly the same thing. So now let's talk about networks of consciousness. What a beautiful segue, because I am talking about the trees and I'm here as an interdimensional ambassador or spokesperson. Interdimensional in that this is consciousness from another dimension, not necessarily from another planet. I love it when people ask me what planet I'm from, and I often joke and I say I'm from planet Aurora, and I even used to have a TV show, a public access TV show in Woodstock called Planet Aurora. I honestly answer that I am part of a traveling collective of consciousnesses. So this collective is made up of many different beings from many different star systems. So it's like saying, I am part of the United Nations, and the United Nations has representatives from all of these different places. It's very, very important now when we begin to talk about stars, consciousness, and extra-dimensionality and extra-dimensional beings that we use our language properly, because as many stars as there are in the sky, there are that many different types of consciousness, that many different beings out there. On Earth, there is an amazing array of consciousnesses. People have all sorts of different motivations. There are beings who act out of pure unconditional love and service to others, and there are beings who act only out of their own self-interest and service to self. And there is absolutely no judgment in organisms acting out of their own self-interest. I freely avow that I act out of my own self-interest. This is essential. I have an immune system. I have an energetic immune system. It is a Merkaba. Dun dun dun. Time to talk about this painting. This star tetrahedron. This is a Merkaba. Here you see, or hopefully you can see if the lighting is proper, two human figures sitting within their Merkaba. So this is a twin, and that's the subject matter of this. Merkaba is a energetic device, energetic vessel that one occupies. Again, I turn your attention to Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, where you will learn not only what a Merkaba is, but how it relates to the Flying Rainbow Lasagna, how it relates to your chakras, which are actually based on circles and spheres, and you can see that this shape has straight lines in it and is not based on circles and spheres. So how can we reconcile those two? This is important information, and it is not for beginners, with no condescension at all. It's just like saying you cannot jump over the high jump until you jump over the medium and the low jump. So I encourage you to start with the initiatory materials that will teach you about the shape of the chakras, the shape of time, liken it to electromagnetism and the way that electrons flow. However, when I'm talking about energy, I'm speaking about a different type of energy. An energy that exists in the non-physical realm and also interpenetrates the physical realm. So when I define extra-dimensional consciousness, I'm talking about consciousness that exists beyond the third dimension, the physical corporeal world, which I inhabit here, this level of density. Some people might define that as spirit beings. However, that's a term that has a lot of different associations with it, or astral beings. But again, it's very important to use the proper words. Some consciousnesses have never inhabited corporeal bodies. Some consciousnesses have inhabited corporeal bodies, and they have transcended that level of density and now reside again in less dense, higher dimensional realms. Okay? There are some beings, so I'm now making the distinction between extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional. Extraterrestrial beings are not necessarily centered on planet Earth, although they might themselves be centered on a different planet or a different star system. There are extra-dimensional beings who are very much involved in the affairs of Earth, in the experiences of Earth's inhabitants, in the health and well-being of planet Earth. Without using judgment-laden words such as angelic or demonic, we would say that these are service to others beings who exist in a state of unconditional love, or who eat and find nourishment and farm the nourishment of unconditional love. So this is all about who I am and who I connect with, because again, I am connected to a panoply, a vast spectrum of different consciousnesses, and they all have different flavors or characteristics. This is something that must be noted. When one achieves ascension, like when we talk about the ascended masters, the definition of ascended masters is beings who have lived in corporeal forms and then transcended that level of density and reascended to higher consciousness. So they've had the experience. They know what it feels like. It's like they've been there, and they're also here to help. And ascended masters can refer to both inhabitants of Earth and people who have never lived on Earth. There are people who have lived in other places who have ascended, so they might look humanoid, they might not look humanoid. There are beings, all right, and this is another thing I have to get through, because I still find it hard to wrap my mind around the concept that some of you, inhabitants of Earth, humans, don't know about or believe in the existence of extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional intelligence, and don't even necessarily know or believe in the existence of an afterlife. I am here to tell you, as a walk-in, first of all, yes, afterlife exists. Death is not the end. There is a continuity of consciousness, and you will continue on your journey. All right? Whether that fills you with fear or whether that fills you with hope, it's like if your journey is not good, you might not want it to continue. But I will tell you, the journey is good because the journey is continually evolving, and you are not stuck in what you once were. So whatever body or experience you inhabited, you don't have to permanently inhabit it. You get to evolve. And this is one of the lessons. This is one of these consciousness realizations when you know that we are all one. We are all that same consciousness that is on its journey. And so we all have been Hitler. We all have been Jesus Christ. We have all been both the most heroic and most evil or villainous. And we have all lived these lives in order to raise our consciousness and evolve. And so now we're talking about, after having ascended, these consciousness beings who still deeply, deeply care about the people that are still in the school of life, all right? I, as a walk-in, I matriculated into the school of life. If you're here in the physical form, in the third dimension, it means that you have lessons to learn. It doesn't mean that you're an imperfect person in any way. It means that you are here for a purpose. You're here to learn. If you didn't have anything to learn, if there was no reason to still be here, you would not be here. And again, I speak from my personal experience. I know that I am here having come from another place, intentionally or voluntarily coming into this school of life. And here's the deal, like, you don't get to leave until you graduate. They're not just going to give you a pass, they're not just going to let you go so that you can graduate along with your class. You really have to earn it. So coming down here into this realm is really a commitment to going through the full cycle and then achieving that ascension and coming out again. The reason why I'm here is, dun dun dun, if you can see, these are the flying rainbow lasagna. And this shape that you see right here, coming out of Earth, is the flying rainbow lasagna. So this painting that I'm working on, this is my current piece. It is called The Birth of a New Dimension. And you can see over here on the side, this is the study that I did for this area. And I did that in 2012. But I understood, although I was doing the drawing for this painting in 2012, that it wasn't ready to happen yet. Although I really wanted it to. You can't force these things. It's like having a baby. The baby is going to come in the time that it wants to come, even though I know people induce labor and they do cesareans and everything like that. But it's like birth and death. It is a cosmic timeline, a cosmic journey, and not necessarily something that is done at my personal convenience, if you can believe that. Now let's talk about consciousness and when this consciousness comes from. Because, okay, to give you a little bit of an idea, and I know that this video, I always intend to record short videos and they always end up being very long, but I have just a few more things that I really need to talk with you about. This is about preparing humanity and Earth for what some people are calling full disclosure, or let's say overt contact with both extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional entities. So these entities are actually a part of Earth history for eons. They are part of Earth culture, both positive and negative, or let's say ranging the spectrum. Everybody's got an agenda. Hey, you know something? I have an agenda. Right? My agenda is to keep Aurora happy, but I'm not going to keep myself happy at others' expense because I also am evolved and I see the futility of that. If I simply ran outside and stole and murdered in order to get what I wanted, I understand that would not be really giving me what I needed, because then I would have all of this debt that I had to take care of. So this is what really happens. When you go through the karmic cycle and all of these cycles of incarnation over and over, you learn the rules of the game and you learn what works. Certain things work and certain things are just antithetical to your purpose. Certain things just, instead of making you wealthy, get you deeper into debt. And wealthy means your energy is raising upward. Okay? So in order to even begin to talk with extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional entities, people have to raise their vibration. People have been at a very low and slow vibration for thousands of years on planet Earth, mainly focused on just the physical corporeal world and survival in the corporeal world. And of course, there are pockets, there are occasional civilizations that arise that come to a peak that allow people to live in a state of non-brutal barbarism and actually be in touch with higher dimensional entities. And then it seems that humanity goes back into darkness. Well, I really say quite often that right now, much to the opposite of what people believe, we are living in a dark age and we're just coming into the dawn. The dark age is filled with people who do not recognize consciousness. When I say consciousness, I'm talking about conscious awareness. One beautiful spirit teacher of mine just said to me, the words consciousness and Christ are interchangeable. Not to bring up the Christian religion, to bring up the idea that there is a being that is a mind that is enormous, and you're one little tiny firing neuron in that mind, and that mind is called Christ consciousness. And wherever there is consciousness, there is Christ. Christ and consciousness are everywhere. Lack of awareness is lack of Christ consciousness. Literally, if light is awareness, lack of awareness is darkness. And there is darkness here in this time. People who are unaware of their own divine Christ nature, and because they are unaware of their own inner nature, are unable to recognize it in others. If you cannot sense that a plant or a tree is conscious, or an animal is conscious, then how can you recognize the consciousness of a being who might look like a star pattern, or who might look like, you can see that painting in the background over there, that's a picture of people. These are abstract forms and abstract consciousnesses. How can you even be prepared to recognize this abstract consciousness? I know this video is becoming a bit long, but I am here to say, when you begin to meet otherworldly or non-third dimensional consciousnesses, it is necessary to understand who you are even talking and interacting with. So, like, to give you an idea of my day, like, I get up in the morning and then I'm drinking coffee, and usually 9 a.m. I have my interdimensional coffee hour. This is getting together with all of my spirit guides, and you can almost imagine being in a room, a giant oval-shaped room filled with all sorts of interdimensional beings from all sorts of places and planets. And again, each one has an agenda, each one has a mind and a consciousness of its own. And of course, I choose to interact only with the ones that come from a place of unconditional love and treat me respectfully. So this is a very important thing. If you, or when you, start to interact with higher dimensional creatures, it is essential to make sure that they are pure, that they are loving, that they are respectful, in exactly the same way that I have standards for my corporeal friends. So I have another very dear friend who says to me, don't allow spirit people to treat you in a way you wouldn't allow your regular friends to treat you. And you know what I'm talking about. In life, in the school of life, you are able to tell who is a friend, who is not a friend. You know, real friends support you, have your back, right? Fight for you and what you believe in and want to see you thrive. Real friends don't exploit, use, or abuse you. And this is also very similar to good bosses, you know, and really, in forming a relationship with extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional entities, the ideal relationship is one of equality and partnership. Because if you are in the third dimension, you are in a very valuable position. You are in the driver's seat. You get to be here occupying a physical body, something that not all of these extraterrestrial and extra-dimensional consciousnesses have. If you want to be powerful in the physical realm, if you want to lift objects and move them around, if you want to bring abstract vibrations from a higher level, less dense place to a lower level, more dense place, you have to have a body with which to do it. So a lot of these non-corporeal beings want to be manifested into this realm. They're thought beings. They want a mind to contain them and a mouth to speak about them. You, as a owner of a physical form in the third dimension, you get to choose. You get to choose who you speak for and what you say. So I, as Aurora, am making choices about which concepts, which higher dimensional concepts I embody and I send out into the world through the vibration of my voice, through pictures that I create, and also through abstract meditation, or just thinking. Each one of us at every moment is both a receiver and a transmitter of energy. Your genes are constantly vibrating in a beautiful cosmic dance, and they are sending out energy all the time to other beings that also receive that energy. So we are constantly walking through an ocean of vibration, and affecting one another. If you have a very powerful mind, you can really affect other people. Or instead of mind, because it is not merely the human operating system that I'm talking about, let us say a very powerful and focused awareness or consciousness. It is like being a very loud singer, and everyone around you can hear what you're singing. And you also have to learn to be a good listener. So this has everything to do with joining the Interdimensional Coffee Hour. It is important to be able to tune in, talk with the beings who you wish to talk with, tune out the beings whom you do not wish to talk with, and that has everything to do with creating Merkaba. When you create the Merkaba, this is also a spinning protective device to prevent erroneous and intrusive thoughts and energy from coming into you. And it has to be the end of the video because I'm reaching the maximum limit here. More will come. I will tell you more about the whole idea of talking with extra-dimensional beings and understanding when they are coming from. Thank you for taking the time. Visit flyingrainbowlasagna.com. Please tune in for more. Thank you so much.